listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. It's about time that we invest more in our financial literacy and work towards building generational wealth. If you think you're ready to do the same, then you've come to the right place. Alex, Marlon, y'all ready? Let's get this bread.
What's good, everybody? It's Alex Kamunya here. We are back with episode 39 of the Money Monopolizers podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Marlon Walls. Marlon, how you doing today?
Another day, bro. We just releasing these back to back, honestly, because as fast as we're recording them, they're just, they're being spread out week by week, but we're recording these nonstop now. So it's been fun, though, honestly. I love getting to talk to all these different interviewees because they have a lot of different stories, and I really like the one that we have coming up today with Rashauna Scott. I'll let you introduce her for a minute, but I really did enjoy it. So what you think about her?
Getting to talk to these people and interview these people is crazy because these are like entrepreneurs, real teachers that are out here doing this stuff and showing other people about it and teaching people about it. So it's like real teachers. Robert Kiyosaki always talks about fake versus real teachers, and how a lot of the teachers in school, like your accountant, might not be, he ain't never been an accountant. Or he never had an accountant business, or a business teacher might never had a business, right? But a lot of the people we're teaching it are people that have done this stuff. So, y'all are getting it like firsthand, like knowledge, and we are able to leverage these connections as well. So I love it as well too. But we had a really good episode for y'all today. We talked with Rashauna Scott. She's on Instagram, she's branded as like the investor's agent or the investor's realtor. So she's really branded herself as like the real estate agent for a lot of investors, especially in Chicago, where she's based. She's really, I think when I saw something about her, she was like one of the number one ranked agent in Chicago based off of social media influence. So I'm super excited to talk to her about her. Well, we already did it, but it was a a good interview we had with her. Talk to her about her journey and like kind of what she's done and how she became an agent and how she's transitioned from that into, or how she did transition from that into an investor. And really, she talked a lot about that mindset that it takes to become an investor, right? And because it's a lot different from being an agent. I mean, because a lot of people think that just because you're an investor that you are an agent, or that you can, do a lot of stuff that agents do, but it's completely different. And a real estate agent and an investor are two different things, right? It's two different quadrants on the cash flow quadrant, right? An agent is an S quadrant person, while an investor is obviously an I person, an I quadrant person. So that mindset is completely different. And so a lot of the stuff she talked about, especially like one thing she talked about that I love in the show was when she started talking about the art of generating income, right? And how, I'm not going to spoil it, but listen out for that, because we really got into deep behind like the mindset and the mentality it takes to really make money. And not necessarily, it's making money isn't like something that anybody could do. If it was, then everybody would be a millionaire. So, that whole thing is like that mindset is super, super, super important to have. And she's done a lot of, flips and things like that in Chicago. So she talked a lot about that too. So y'all definitely listen now. What'd you think of it?
I really liked her story. I liked what she talked about with branding in particular, though, because I liked how we talked about how everybody has their own brand, and it's up to you what you do with it. So she saw that she was getting into real estate where she had nobody that like looked like her in that field, but that didn't really discourage her. That really motivated her to say, well, I can be the person who is putting this out there and showing that this is a possibility for people who do look like me. So I really like that perspective that she gave on that, and showed how she's able to brand herself as the investor's agent. So now she's able to have a platform where she's pretty much inspiring people to like get into it that look like her, that wouldn't have been inspired otherwise to ever get into this field. So I really liked her story in that regard, and I think people are going to learn a lot from it. So
for sure. Well, let's get right into this.
Hey, Rashauna, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So it's very good to have you on the podcast today. We want to dive deep into your story just to figure out how you become as successful as you have today. For those who don't know, Rashauna, she is a real estate agent as well as investor in Chicago area, and
Celebrity.
she,
That's
yes, a
celebrity.
celebrity at that for sure.
Yeah.
Just to start off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself as you were growing up, the knowledge you had about personal finance, and how does this all shape your journey?
Yeah, so I would say my personal finance journey started for me when I was in high school. And I've definitely shared this story before. But I was a sophomore in high school, and there was what do you call it, career day. So there
Mhm.
was a career day that the school had, and there was a gentleman who he was a manager at AT&T, and even though he was a manager at AT&T, he said he did not depend on AT&T to provide for him and his family. So he actually additionally also owned 400 vending machines across the city of Chicago. And so he explained, and he was a black guy at that, so he explained what it was like to fill it up, uh, empty them out, what his profits were, what it looked like, and all of that. And so I was introduced to the idea of financial freedom, right? And financial literacy and things like really financial freedom. But it was like, okay, not allowing somebody else to take control of you or your future, becoming your own boss and that whole idea. So I pretty much just really dive deep into that. Like I knew I wanted to go to school for business, but it's still so general. And then also when you are going to school for business, and then you think you come out, and then the highest position that you can get like at a company is like a manager. So it's like when
Mhm.
you're a manager somewhere, it's like, oh, you made it. But then not even understanding there's this whole other lane of entrepreneurship, which is a term that I wasn't familiar with at the time. But there's a whole nother world of that, which is where we are now. But Red Rich Dad Poor Dad, like many folks who are in the real estate investing industry. And I said, okay, I knew that I wanted to be successful. I knew I wanted to be financially free. And I said, how am I going to get there? Okay, real estate is going to be my way, after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Mhm.
I also had a mentor at the time who really broke down the differences between being an agent, being an investor, what this meant, what that meant, someone who really helped lay the foundation for me as far as like even business credit or incorporating a business, or how do you go to look up properties and all of that. And so that was literally like my late teens, early 20s, like 18, 19, 20. I was really just trying to this thing out. And I was going to as many free workshops and free seminars and free conferences as I could. And I say free because I was young and broke, right? And so I didn't have any money, but it was just a matter of searching and trying to figure this thing out because, the conversations around generational wealth building and all of that were not discussed at my dinner table.
Right.
So, but I knew that these conversations were had somewhere. They were being had somewhere. So it was just a matter of finding where these conversations were being had and then putting myself in the room.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, so you said it was different trying to find like education back then versus how it is today. Because I mean, if you look on social
Oh,
media now,
absolutely.
you can find information anywhere. We're providing it. There's many different platforms, people that's doing podcasts, and I mean seminars, books. Is a whole lot of things. So I'm guessing it was a little bit different. How long ago was this? Because you look pretty young right now. So I'm guessing it's not even 5, 10 years ago. Probably less
So
than.
yes, I'm 28. So I would say definitely within the last 10 years. So it's been a decade of, this whole journey, I should say, I've been on. I first incorporated my first business when I was 19. Built that business credit up, and then didn't even know what to do with it. And so I ended up closing that business. But I knew the foundation. And then also, that's why it's also good to have many mentors, because my mentor at the time could only take me as far as he had gone, as far as his success. So, I learned what I learned, and then I took immediate action, and then I was ready for the next thing. And I was like, okay, what now? And then it was like I was kind of left by myself to figure it out. And by I want to say or 23 or somewhere in there. I went and got my license, my real estate license, because I was like, well, this will be a foot in the door. And then I had another friend who was a very successful realtor. So again, switching mentors again, I was able to go up under her ring and learn about that while I was in school, because I was always working full time and in school full time. While I was, again, just trying to figure this thing out along the way. So when people ask me all the time, like, what in your journey, what's one thing that has aided in your success, is not giving up, because literally the journey is going to continually be trying to figure it out. But you don't know, or you don't learn until you make those mistakes, and you're like, oh, I'm not gonna do that next time, I'm not gonna do that next time, but you're gonna keep going. So fast forward, like I said, I first got my license, and then I spent thousands of dollars on like a guru program, learning about the investing side. I did my first investment as a private investor in 2015. And then fast forward to today, I do things online, offline. I work directly with clients. I do my own investing. So I have my hands in a little mix of both.
Yeah. So it sounds like, well, I mean, you've been in it for a while, and it sounds like you kind of transitioned from, the whole realtor to an investor, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But before we do, what can you kind of give us the totality in terms of like your entire portfolio, your real estate business, how it looks today, and then we'll kind of talk more about it and break it down a little bit throughout this episode.
Yeah, so the majority of my business is on the actual realtor side. So that is my main hustle, I guess you can say. And then that actually fuels the investing side. So what I'm doing on the investing side is I have fix and flips. And I actually work with private investors who invest with me to fund those fix and flips. And so it's all different steps in the process. So working with, and even in the my realtor business, 80% of my clients are investors. So I get to work directly with investors as far as, on the beginning end, on the back end, the design end, and doing all of that and representing clients. But then also on the investing side, I'm able to go in and fix and flip properties and do things that way. However, with the recent way that the market is going, and we were talking about this a little bit, I'm actually, the next phase is to phase out of flips and transition more into buying homes. And so constantly building, constantly working. And then with, like I said, the how the market is going, if I see a decline that'll happen in the market soon, then I'm definitely jumping into acquiring assets in that manner to do some buy and hold.
Yeah, and that's super key too, because that's why I think that's a really great investment strategy, and that's what I always try to tell, especially when talking to like my business partners. If we don't necessarily say we have to do this certain strategy, we just take what the market is giving us right now. So in terms of like for the last 10 years, it's flipping was hot. Really, and it could, we don't know really, we're not sure what's going to happen within the next year or so. So it could still be, but generally speaking, most people are leaning towards buying holds now, just because that's a little bit more it's a little less risk in terms of like the end part of it and your exit strategy. So, but yeah, that's very important. So how many, I guess up to now, how many flips have you done? Do you have, or do you know? I mean,
number of rentals too, probably.
Yeah, so my first flip, so my first investment, I was actually a private investor in 2015. So someone allowed me the opportunity to be a part of their deal. And then I got into 2 more flips that I actually lost money on. So that was, again, me being an investor on someone else's deals. And then I said, okay, well, let me take a step back and try and do my own and try and work with, and that is a whole nother story and a whole nother lesson in itself, is partnerships and working with people, and because you have to have the right contractors in place and things like that. But I want to say in the last year and a half or so, 5 flips in about the last year and a half.
Okay. Nice, nice.
Okay, and so you said that you start off by investing into other people's deals. So most people would be like, okay, why would I want to just like put money up, or why would I want? I would rather have the whole deal for myself. That's how most people think. Like, if I'm gonna do real estate investing, I want to have every piece of the pie. I don't want to share it with anybody. So, why did you decide to do this first, and how did that help you out in the long run, as opposed to if you hadn't done anything?
That is actually a really great question because one is a lot of people feel like they don't know enough, so they never get started.
Mm-hmm.
However, you can invest in other people's deals who know more than you, and you're able to earn a return and be a part of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was definitely one of my main reasons, is because I knew I didn't know everything, but I knew I wanted to get started. So my very first investment went great. You know, I was there, I was able to be a part of the process, I was able to get paid back, I was able to ask questions and show up and learn. And so, you know, for whatever reason, a lot of people don't know that you can invest in someone else's deal. And then, like you said, a lot of people want the whole pie, and it's not about that, right? Like, you don't have to make all the money on one deal. You know, you can make it spread out on several other deals, because if you want to be selfish in this business and make all the money to yourself, well, you're going to take all the losses by yourself too, you know?
Mm.
So just like I want to spread the profits, I'm going to spread the losses too.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
And so we can share it, right? We can share it and we can learn together. And so I strongly believe in like learning from other people's mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And again, you know, not having all the answers and not knowing it all, but just getting started.
Yeah.
Right.
That's super important for a lot of people to get that want to get started into real estate investing, because you know there's a saying that I know I've heard it on bigger pockets, and they say, you know, 50% of one deal is better than 100% of no deal,
Mhm.
right? So it's better to get something, and plus, like you said, you can spread that loss around, and it's kind of like you think about it like a syndication too. You know, with a syndication, a lot of people are able to benefit and you know, profit off of one huge apartment complex is that otherwise you wouldn't be able to buy. So it's a great way to start and learn from directly from other people. And that's even what happens in the syndication too. You put your money into an apartment complex and you can learn from the person that's doing the syndication passively while you just have money invested in it. So it's a great strategy.
You said that you're both an agent and an investor. So can you explain a little bit of the difference between both of them, and then why you still choose to do both as opposed to just pursuing one or the other?
You know what? And like you mentioned earlier, multiple streams, right?
Mhm.
And I actually got my license because I already knew the rules and I knew it was something I was good at, but it was really just to help further me on the investing side.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you know, I'll just help out friends and family as needed, because people would always come to me. Because here's the thing, when you put yourself out there as an investor or whatever, you're in real estate. People know you for real estate. The consumer doesn't know the difference between an agent or an investor. So
Right.
I had people that were coming to me all the time that were looking for a realtor, and I had to refer them out. And so I said, okay, well, instead of missing out on this money, I might as well go ahead and, you know, get my license, and then I can help people out. Well, that grew into, you know, what it is today, with a lot of people, me attracting like-minded individuals because of what I put out, you know, on social media and how I brand myself, right? I'm the investor's realtor. So again, 80% of my clients are investors, and whether that somebody that's looking to flip a house or whether that's somebody that's looking to house hack, right? Because it's a matter of having that investor's mindset and wanting to build generational wealth. And if that's going good, why not stop it, right? And then the other side to that is the investing side, which I love, which I enjoy, which is my passion. You know, I get to be creative on that side. I like, for me, that's for my own personal, you know, portfolio to build and grow and things like that long term. Like, as a realtor, I can't pass my license down to my kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, investment properties, rental properties, and things like that, you can. So it's more so like, you know, people choose to have a 9 to 5, you know, and their 9 to 5 fuels and funds their dreams and things like that. Like, being a realtor helps fuel everything else that I want to do. So whether it's investing in the stock market, investing in short-term rentals, or whatever it is.
One thing that you did mention that I think is key, because you talk about how you branded yourself as like the investor's agent or the investor's realtor, which is super important. And I whenever I, you know, stalk your Instagram page, I noticed that you help a lot of millennials get into real estate investing, right?
Mhm.
And like you're millennial yourself, so obviously it makes sense. So why are you passionate about kind of helping younger folks get involved into real estate investing?
Because I think of myself and my journey and how difficult it was or has been for me just getting started and not having the right guidance, not knowing the answers, always looking, always searching, spending money trying to learn about investing, and really just, feeling lonely and trying to figure it out and not having one person saying, do this, do that, this will be the way. And then, because so, I would have been a millionaire by 25, right? But I didn't have that along the way. So I just really think about myself, and I take everything that I know and I try and give it to, everybody else. Because again, I know that I didn't have it. And even what I know now, I still know I don't know everything, but I know more than the average person, like trying to get into real estate or trying to invest or trying to, be in this business. Like there's a meme or there's a quote out there that says, you will actually fail more times than most people will ever try, And so from my mistakes, from my failures, from my lessons, like I know I can help other people and teach other people and what to do and what not to do. So really that passion is definitely driven by my own experiences and wanting other people to have a better story.
Got you. So then, we just going based off of that, what do you think is the best way for younger people to really get into the game, like just based off of your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I would say definitely right now, house hacking is the thing, and it's actually been a thing for a while. But I think social media has helped coin it and shine a light on what it really is and what it really means. And basically, just because of the low down payments that you can get in and start owning property at, right, and then your buying power that you have as a first time home buyer when you purchase a multi-unit property versus single family or that condo and things like that. Because if you go into a situation where you are looking to house hack, and let's say you buy up to 4 units, which by the way, your down payment is going to be the same whether it's a 1, 2, 3 or 4 units. You're still looking at a 3.5% down payment. And if you're able to live there and live, and even if you are uncomfortable, right? But you can live there and be uncomfortable for, let's say, a year or so, and then you want to move out and buy another property. Well, the great thing about it is that that income will help you qualify for another property, that rental income. Even the unit that you were living in, even if there's no tenant in there, the lender will take that and they call it what's projected income, because you can prove that you've been a successful landlord for the past year or so. And they
Hmm.
actually take the income from all 4 units and help you qualify towards purchasing another property, versus being on the other end of that. You are purchasing like a single family or condo, and now you decide I want to buy more property. Well, your income is going to have to increase because you're going to need additional income to help you qualify for more properties.
Yeah.
So if that is one way that, if people plan on building generational wealth through property ownership, and especially a young person, I definitely, the house hacking way is the way to go. If you are in an area where you can afford it, right? And I understand that there are like the New Yorks and the LAs, and depending on where you are, you can afford it. So I will say everybody's situation is different, but then there are definitely some creative acquisition strategies out there that I would probably try to study if the entry price is too high. So whether it's like tax lien investing, or going after short sales, or going after subject to properties, or whatever it is, right? Like now you have to start to get creative on ways that you can get in.
But just moving on. That's I love that because especially when we talk about house hacking, I mean we talk about it all the time. Like I said, I'm not gonna get
Beat that
into it.
dead horse.
Yeah, but we have episodes about it, so people can go check those episode 5 if you want to hear more about it. But the thing about it is like the first house that you buy, for most people, the first house that you buy is gonna either like it's gonna put you on a certain path for the rest of your life, right? So like, it a lot of people what they do. I mean, most people that don't know better, they go buy the most expensive house that they can afford, right? Like fresh out of school, they if they can afford, if the lender says that they're pre-approved for 400,000, they go and buy a house that's 375. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the and then they're they stuck into that mortgage payment, and it's just kind of like their instant gratification mindset gets the best of them. So as opposed to, getting a house hack where you can, really build wealth, live for free, have someone paying you, learn how to become a landlord, and then let that like catapult you into another one, and then another one, and another one. It's crazy, and the fact that it's like so easy to do, it's crazy that this is even a possibility, right? Because I mean, it might not be like this forever. Who knows? In 20 years, they might say, well, we're not doing these 3.5% downs anymore. So, just being able to take advantage of that right now, because I guarantee you if it changes, you will be upset because you're going to know about it in the future and be like, dang, I didn't do that.
Real
That was an option back then.
Yeah, and things are changing every day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely. I love it. So then, well, what I think real quick then, what do you think? Because a lot of people are like really ignorant about the home buying process, like that never have. I mean, it's not their fault. They never bought a house before. So like, what do you think that a lot of younger people should know about the home buying process just in general for their first house? Like, what should they expect?
So, the very, very first step is getting pre-approved. Every now and then I get somebody who wants to look at properties without having an approval, and I'm like, absolutely not.
Not gonna waste my time.
No, exactly.
No, yeah, and I don't want you to waste your time either. You know why it doesn't make sense for us to see a property today that you absolutely fall in love with, and now you got to go and get qualified to see if you can put in an offer, and then now 3 or 4 days later you get your approval, and then you're ready to put in an offer, and the property is gone. Like why would we even waste our time doing that? So and depending on what market you're in, I mean, that is definitely happening, right? Like properties are listed today and under contract tomorrow. So the very first step is getting pre-approved, and that's how you know what your buying power is. Basically, the lender is going to look at what's called a DTI, your debt to income ratio, and they're going to look at the total amount of debt that you have on your credit. They're going to take your income and subtract it from there. And then they also, there's a certain percentage or a certain ratio that you have to be at, depending on if you're going to go FHA or conventional. But let's say your debt to income ratio is, let's say, like 35%, and you're allowed to go up to, let's say, 50. So that's another 15% of debt that can be allowed towards your DTI, your debt to income ratio. So whatever that number is, that is going to be calculated on a monthly basis, and then basically over 30 years also. And so that's how the lender comes up with what your approval number is. So whether you're approved at, like I said, 250, 300, 400, and that's the very first step. But then also what lenders are looking for is the decent credit score. However, at FHA, you can get approved with as low as 580, but the higher the score, the better that rate and the better the programs, because there are down payment assistance programs out there. There are different programs, and it might be community grants, funds, a lot of different funding and programs that are out there. But you do have to have minimum credit scores to qualify. So sometimes it's 620, 640, 680. So the higher the score, the better. And then they definitely want to see some job history. They definitely want to see that. So whether it's a year on your job, 2 years on your job, it's usually 2 years. But depending on, the lender, they can work some things, and depending on your reserves too. So for whatever reason, a lot of people think that they don't need money to buy a house. And yes, you can walk away. You can negotiate certain things and walk away from a closing with putting low money down or no money down. However, going into it, especially if you're going to buy a multi-unit to do house hacking, lenders are going to want to see that you have reserves, which means you have X amount of months in the bank to be able to pay the mortgage. And especially with what's going on right now, people are losing their jobs left and right. So lenders definitely want to see that you have those reserves in the bank to pay your mortgage, for a couple months out should something happen. So I would say, yeah, just keeping those in mind, like what the different qualifications are, what they're looking for, and then what the first step is in the home buying process.
Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna just real quick, because I know Marlon has another question to ask, but I think the most important, well, one of the things that you really, I think a theme of what you said was having your personal finances in order before you try to go and become a landlord, right? Because it's one thing to like, struggle and not be able to fix your own, water heater or your own sink. But it's a bit different game now when you got tenants and their water heater goes out and they need it fixed immediately, right? You can't be living paycheck to paycheck and trying to be a landlord. That's not gonna work. Like just like you said, like I mean, in the midst of what's going on right now, I wasn't sure if I was gonna get rent from my tenants. I ain't bring it up, but I mean, thank God I got my rent, but I wasn't sure. But I was ready in the case I had to pay it myself. Like you just that just might have to happen. You might have to be able to pay the mortgage yourself. So
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that too, because it's important also to diversify, right? So if you do have a multi-unit, with several properties, like it's okay to have government assistant tenants. It's okay to have market rate tenants. When the government shuts down and they're not paying rent, your tenants are still expected to pay rent. When you have something that's going on right now, where you have a lot of market tenants who are just losing their jobs left and right, the government is still paying rent. So I would say, it's in those instances, it's definitely great to diversify, as well as you don't want to be over leveraged, right? You don't want to be in a position, obviously own as many properties free and clear as you can, but you also don't want to be in a position to where, like you said, if things do happen, you overpaid for a property, you're upside down, and you can't even afford the mortgage, or at least in your rent payments can't afford the mortgage.
Yeah, I think personally, I think a lot of people, I think not everyone should be an entrepreneur, but everyone should be investing in some sort of way, right? Like, I don't think entrepreneurship is for everyone, but I think investing is for everyone, right? So a lot of people, though, they only see kind of like the tip of the iceberg when it comes to like, real estate and those kind of things. Can you talk really a little bit about like the reality of it and why it might not be for everyone based on kind of what's on the bottom half of that iceberg?
Yeah, I think a big part of that is knowing your investor personality. And what I mean by that is, if you are not a people person, you probably shouldn't be a landlord if you don't like people. Or you should strongly consider hiring a property manager, right? Because that is a business. Yeah, y'all can laugh.
I'm like,
That is definitely a business where you have to interact with people, right? And if you have a short fuse, you're gonna be pissed off because they texting you about a light bulb, And I mean, hey, it's real. Or if you have a very low risk tolerance, you probably shouldn't be flipping properties, because things will pop up that are outside of the budget that you did not expect, and you could really lose your shirt. But it's a matter of having that stomach to handle what is presented to you, in front of you at the moment, and being able to also analyze the numbers, right? So knowing, breaking down what the numbers are, whether it is in a long-term, hold situation or a short-term flip situation. So, yeah, no, it's definitely not for everybody. But again, I think it's a matter of knowing your investor personality, knowing who you are and the type of investor you want to be, and not just trying to follow a trend and do what's hot. Because that's the other thing too. A lot of people want to get into investing, and they want to do what they see other people making money at, when that might not be your lane.
Yeah.
You might be great at being a wholesaler, and maybe you want to go that route and wholesale some properties. And then maybe, if you do want to transition into the buy and hold, like I said, but you're not a really big people person, right off the bat, I'm going to hire a property manager because this isn't for me. So I would definitely say staying true to who you are, but figuring out, what strategies fit best for you.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I love that answer so much, because you saw me and Alex laughing the whole way through, because I think that getting into this business is such a people's business, and it requires so many moving parts that it magnifies your areas of weakness, but also will magnify your areas of strength. So if you are good at this, you will excel at this. But if you hate doing this, you're going to see that you hate doing this. And the good thing about it, though, is that, like you said, you have people that you can hire out or that can work with you in those areas that you don't like. Because me and Alex, we have two different businesses for real estate. way, and we have people that work with us that do the things that we don't like to do. So like for me, I'm more of the analytical one that's going to be looking at the numbers, making sure that they look good. Alice is going to be the one that's probably going to be like negotiating with different lenders that can lend to us, like to for like private money, raising money for us though. So, and then we have other people who like to manage the contractors. I mean, it's just a whole bunch of different moving parts, but it doesn't require you to do all of one thing though.
Yeah, and that's I think that's like really it's treating it like a business and not like a hobby, right? Because it's even if you're just gonna house hack, you're buying a business. Like you're not buying just a little little condo that is just somewhere. You're buying a business now. You have to operate a business and treat it like a business. And that's the mindset you have to treat it with. It's like you got the E, the S, and then the B and the I quadrant. You have to treat it like the B quadrant. And
Exactly.
there's certain things. I know for me personally, the reason we was really laughing is because when you're talking about like the people person thing and like managing tenants, I don't like doing that stuff. I do not like doing that stuff. Like it's not my thing. I get irritated whenever I get messages from tenants about things. That's just my personality. So I mean I haven't got a property management yet, just because I mean that's me also being frugal. It's kind of like a fight between those things, but it's the truth. Like seriously, it's not for everyone if that's not like something you want. But one thing that you did talk about also in your answer was when you talked about like generating money. You had mentioned that, and that made me think about something you had tweeted something about the art of generating income. I think it was on your page or something, because a lot of people don't really realize that making money is like a skill, right? Just like cooking, playing basketball, singing, it's a skill. Like literally something you have to cultivate. You're not just gonna, there's a reason like not everyone isn't millionaires, because they don't know how to make money. They don't know how money works. So can you kind of talk more about that and like how that should, like what you really meant by that and cultivating that skill and getting that skill?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, really what it says, right? Like you said, it is a skill and it's something that you have to work at. And I love that you said, like, just like cooking, just like, driving a car, just like whatever, like it has to be learned for those of us who weren't born into it, right? The majority of us were not born into it. So it's something that you have to intentionally sit down, take this class, pay for this, watch this video, do this workshop, like do these worksheets, strategize, try and figure it out, ask questions. Like it's something that you literally have to work at, and then you have to practice over and over and over again. And for whatever reason, people think it's going to be easy. Like it's not easy, because like you said, if that's the case, then everybody would be millionaires. But we are working at different ways on how to just make it and how to figure it out, but it's a matter of, even if you aren't good at something, like you can get good at it with practice, right? And that's why I was saying, like, the art of generating income is definitely a skill, because it's something that you have to sit down and you have to practice, and because there's so many different ways too. So I think that makes it more difficult, because there are so many different ways, and it's a matter of like, which one do I pick, right? I don't know what to do. But that is what defines the successful from the unsuccessful, because you are going to pick something, figure it out, get good at it, stick with it. And if you want to move on, it's because you've already done something, well, you've already done it successfully, or maybe you didn't do it successfully. But the great thing, the lesson is that you tried, and there were some things that you figured out and you worked on along the way, and now you're ready to move on to something else. So man, that is huge. That is huge. And it's definitely something that people sleep on. Like, we can't wake up talking about oh man, I want this, or I want that, or I wish things were different, I wish that don't wish what you're not willing to work at. I think I'm gonna tweet that.
That might be the title of this episode.
Don't wish what you're not willing to work at, and really that's what it boils down to, at the end of the day. Like, how hard are you willing to go for your dreams and your goals and what you want out of this life?
Yeah, and I think the beautiful thing, people got to I think people take advantage or don't take advantage, or we live in a country that's different from a lot of other countries, right? This country literally gives, just because it is capitalism, right? A lot of other countries aren't capitalistic. Most countries or a lot of other countries are socialistic. There's over 19 million millionaires in America. And that is, the next highest country had only, I think, 4 million. So the crazy thing is that literally anything you want to do or any idea that you have the opportunity or freedom to expand on it and monetize it. So that's the beautiful thing about living here. So that's why, like, I mean, that's, that also goes to talking about how making money is a skill. If there's something that you're passionate about or something you're already skilled at too, you can monetize that. And that's like the beautiful thing about really the opportunities that we have that a lot of people just don't take advantage of. So
Well, actually, I was looking at your page one time too, and just in regards to like the current place that we are in the market, yeah, I know you said that real estate will be bought and sold until the end of time. So, what were your thoughts on that in particular? Because I know how people have fears of like getting into real estate now because they may fear for a market to for a market crash and then their home prices going down in value or whatever fears that they may have. So, what is your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. So, just knowing and believing that first and foremost that real estate will be bought and sold to the end of time in any market, it really just depends as far as investors adjusting to what the market is doing. So, really just knowing and understanding that and putting that out there, because there is so much fear, there is so much uncertainty. Real estate, even with the statewide lockdown, real estate has been deemed an essential business. Transactions are still taking place, and there's a reason why, right? There's a reason why we are in essential businesses, because the economy has to keep on going. And whether or not it goes up or goes down, like more millionaires in real estate were made in a recession than any other time. So even if it goes down, there's still opportunity. As it's going up, there's still opportunity. So it's a matter of adjusting your strategy with the time and finding the market that best fits for that, right? So I actually was talking to a young lady who I'm going to bring on my Infinity membership, which is my online women's membership group, and she's diving heavy into tax lien investing. And I have experience in tax lien investing, but the great thing about it is that this may be the time to, like I said, seek out other acquisition strategies if people are losing their house, right? If foreclosures are rising, like depending on the time, and like I said, just changing your strategy. But I wholeheartedly strongly believe that people always need a place to work, people always need a place to live. And now more than ever, people are grateful and blessed to have a roof over their head. We all staying at home, we all in quarantine, so you have a roof over your head, and that is real estate, right? And so real estate it's an essential part of our economy. So it'll be bought and sold to the end of time. So I really want to put that out, because a lot of people are apprehensive about just what's going on and uncertain with what's going on in the market, and we all are. Like, nobody has a crystal ball, but just knowing and being ready to adjust if things take a turn for the better or for the worse.
Mm-hmm. That's super. I think that's super key too, because I mean, a lot of the thing about real estate is that it's really recession proof if you buy it right. If you buy it the wrong way, then you'll get cooked like everybody else. But if you buy it right, then you can really set yourself up. Like you said, a lot of millionaires are going to be in these next few years, this next half decade. So many millionaires are going to be created just because of. I mean, depending on what happens in the market, but just in general, even just because of social media and all of that, I mean, it's just going to give so many people opportunities to create wealth. Like, the number of millionaires and billionaires is going to, I mean, it's just rising exponentially. So this is a matter of deciding that you want to have a piece of that wealth. So that's really what it is, and being creative with that. So I know we kind of want to wrap up here in a little bit, just because we don't want it to be too long. But one thing I do want to talk about too, in regards to you as like a person and, everything that you're doing, you've branded yourself really in a really unique way, kind of. We talk about how you're the investor's agent, and now you're a millennial and obviously a Black woman, and all of those are very niche things, and very I think the way you're branding yourself is really unique. So can you talk about kind of the importance of branding yourself and why that is important? And then I want to talk about the flipping and heels that you created, and a little bit about that.
Yeah, so brand awareness is key, right? I wholeheartedly believe that. As a realtor, it would kill me to run into like a family or friend or somebody I hadn't seen in a while, and they tell me that they just bought real estate or they just did a transaction, and I'm gonna be like, why didn't you call me? And if they say because I didn't know you did real estate, like that's a problem for me, right? Everybody and their mother needs to know what I do because that is opportunity,
Yeah.
right? There's business to be done. I know I'm good at what I do. I know what I know, and I know I can help somebody out, especially in a regular, buy and sell retail transaction. But if someone doesn't know what I do, that's a problem for one. For two, representation matters, right? When I was growing my brand, when I was going to all these workshops, seminars, and conventions and stuff like that, I rarely ever saw a Black woman getting up and presenting and talking about, her success that she had in real estate. And so that definitely took, I definitely took note of that. Like, where is she, right? Where is this woman? Where is she? Who is she? What does she look like? What does she wear? What does she live? And I couldn't find her. And so that's why Flipping the Hills was created to not only create her or become her, but then also find other women that I could show and highlight. Because again, seeing that other women are out here doing it, like, it's huge, right? It definitely makes a difference. And then number three is really just educating the community, pushing the culture forward, whether it's male or female, old or young, knowing that we have a responsibility to give back to our community as far as what we know and the knowledge that we've gained. Because again, a lot of us did not grow up, like this. 76% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. The number of Black home ownerships versus, white counterparts or Asian counterparts are significantly lower, right? So knowing all of these facts, and again, just knowing what I know and being able to put it out there and just help the next person. A lot of my growth on social media revolving my brand has first started with education. And so a lot of people don't, they miss that, right? When they say, oh, how'd you get a lot of followers? How do you grow your brand? Like, I tell people, content is key. Content is key, but it's also content and consistency, right? Are you showing up every single day? Or how often are you show up? I may not post every day, but when I do show up, I'm giving gems, I'm dropping information, I'm sharing stuff with people and trying to help people out because we need it, period. And then the followers and all of that, the growth will come. But
Yeah.
it's a matter of putting out to the people what is needed. And it also just happens to be what I love and what I'm passionate about. So yeah, growing your brand obviously is key in regards to doing business because it also is your social resume, right? It's your social stamp of validation. A lot of people before you work with the individual nowadays, whether it's you decide to buy their book, their product, their course, you Google them or you go straight to Instagram or you go to Facebook and you look them up, right? Like having that social resume nowadays is important too in regards to doing business. So for all of those reasons that I just listed above.
And
No,
I think, well, because there's
go
something I
ahead.
want to comment on real quick because I think a lot of people will hear that and be like, well, I mean, yeah, she's an agent, she's an investor, she's doing all that, she's big time. Of course, she needs to have a brand. But the reality is, everybody has a brand. Like, everyone has a personal brand. Now, regardless of what you are even doing, even in your day to day life, you have a brand. The way you the first when people say your name, the first thing they think about is your brand, right? Or the first thing that comes to mind when someone thinks about you is your brand. Whether it's good or bad, it's based off of what you have put out there and what you have
Come
showed
on.
them, right?
Come on.
So everybody has a brand, right? And the way, I mean, for me, I in the last year, I said, okay, I'm changing my brand in terms of like, that's why we created a podcast too. It was also to boost the credibility and also to show our brand as the money people, right? Like, now we have, the financial literacy. We teach people financial literacy. We add value to people, which is the most important thing that we do, right? And now our brand is, oh, when someone thinks of Alex or when someone thinks of Marlon, they think, oh, that's the money dude. That's the people that's always talk about money. So I don't even tweet or put out nothing anymore that's not like business or money or anything related like that anymore. Because, I mean, number one, I just don't care to. I lost interest in a lot of other stuff, and that's like, I mean, if I'm talking or if I'm showing my brand or if I'm showing myself, I need to be, boosting my brand in some way and boosting my credibility in some way. So everybody has that brand. And even if like you might not want to do real estate, let's say you want to be a caterer, right? If you want to be a caterer and you start a catering business, you need to be telling everybody that you have a catering business, right? Because now the first thing, if you at your job and you tell everybody, yeah, I just started a catering business, whenever someone needs catering, you're gonna be the first person that they think of. You're gonna be the first person in mind. Exactly.
Brand awareness. Yep.
Exactly. So that's super key. Everybody really needs to understand that regardless of if you are in business or you just are whatever you're doing everyday life, you have a brand and be aware of that. Always be conscious of your brand.
Bro, Jen's being dropped all over the place right now, but but I just wanted to comment because what you saw when you first was getting into this industry was that nobody looked like you. But instead of you being discouraged and saying, "Okay, I'm not even going to get into it," you said, "Okay, well, nobody's in it, but I can be the one that can be like the one who's going to put it out there and say, hey, this is something that's possible and feasible for somebody who looks like me or comes from where I come from." So, and I think that's usually the problem with a lot of industries where you don't see a lot of you in the industry. Usually that discourages people from even getting in to start with. And so if you don't see nobody that's gonna like be a mentor to you, you choose not to even go that route because you think that's not for you. But whereas a lot of people who see different sports, like trying to get in like to sports or trying to get in like to rapping, they see a lot of different role models that they could like look up to and be like, oh, I see this is possible for somebody who looks like me, so I'm gonna get into it. But instead, no, you just went ahead and created that brand for yourself, and now you basically are inspiring people to say, okay, this is another industry that we can get into, not just sports or rap or something like that, because I see somebody else doing it that looks like me. So, I'm guessing that has really like impacted people who to get into this business and just in general. And I don't know, how does that work for you as far as the people that you've impacted? Have you seen that come into fruition, basically?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's been a blessing to see. I created Under Flipping in Heels, which is, the brand for women investors and, highlighting and empowering them. I also created a private membership group called Infinity. And I came up with the name because I just believe that wealth building should be an ongoing conversation, and is a women's only. And I didn't really do well with like a beginning, middle, and end course structure. So I wanted a membership. I wanted to create a membership. Again, something that is, again, I'm going back to staying true to myself, right? Not putting out a course or something like that because that's what everybody's doing. Mm-hmm. But for me, it was like always coming with content, always coming with information because I know it's something that people need. Like you don't just learn to be a real estate investor from a 3-week course or, something overnight. Like there's always going to be things that come up. Like even as a realtor, I am still dealing with stuff today that are coming up in transactions that I've never dealt with before because every single scenario is different. And it's the same thing in building a business and trying different, investment avenues. And so, yeah, people have definitely shown their success. I've created like an accountability group as well, a sisterhood, which is, a place where women can let their hair down and we can talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly in real estate because it is a very male dominated industry. So, we can have our space in this industry too. So yeah, it's been a blessing to definitely be a part of that and then create it and then see the fruits of the labor. And then I thank God for social media too, because when used the right way, right, you can connect with so many amazing people. So probably about a year ago, I think it was like last February, I put out a post and I said I said Black real estate investors do exist. And I actually got emotional when I was writing the caption because again, it just took me back to spending my $20,000 in the Guru program with people who didn't even look like me, right? And not knowing that there's so many amazing people, men and women across the country who are doing that thing, right? Like very wealthy, very, but again, just having that representation and being grateful to social media to be able to connect me with so many people because there's so many people who I'm friends with that inspire me, right? Yeah. But being able to connect with them through social media and, have that representation is huge.
So I love that too, especially, the fact that you created like a centralized place for women specifically, right? Like, because that, especially, because Black women especially are probably the most, or no doubt the most marginalized group of people, right? So the fact that you created that is like extremely powerful because it can really like augment like and show like the power that women really do have within real estate investment. So can you talk about real quick just like what the advantages women have over men within like the real estate industry? Because they definitely have some. So can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, so one in particular, I'll touch base on like being a contractor in this industry, right? And being a Black woman contractor. So let's say you have your MWDBE certification, which is minority business owner, a woman business owner, or a disadvantaged business enterprise is actually it. But if you are a Black woman, that is 2 certifications that you're able to have that allows you to now go after different government contracts, and it puts you in a certain category where you are where you don't have to compete in a larger pool, but because you have those 2 certifications, like it gives you a boost. So you can qualify to be a minority business entity as well as a woman-owned business entity. And you're able to get, as a contractor, you're able to go after, these larger government contracts and not have to compete with as many people, as you normally would in any other instances. So I would say that just even that example right there, if there's anybody that's interested in being a general contractor or just a Black woman in business in general, like getting that certification and being able to go after like I said, different contractors, no matter what type of business you're in, because there's something that is called RFPs and RFQs and things like that, requests for proposals and requests for qualifications that government entities, your local government entities will put out. You just have to log on and take a look at what's out there and apply, for these different opportunities that are out there. And I don't want to go all the way into that, but that's just one example of, like you said, being a Black woman in business and how we can really capitalize on the opportunities that are out there.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so we can kind of wrap up with the Fast Five, which is a segment we do with every guest. We kind of just ask you 5 questions, you answer them in 60 seconds or less. Pretty simple. So yeah, let's get right into it. So I'll take the first question and Martin will take the next one and we'll just alternate. So first question, what does success mean to you?
Success as well as like financial freedom, it really just means doing what I want, when I want, where I want, how I want, with who I want, whenever I want to do it. And I don't know if I discovered that from after reading Rich Dad or what it was, but there's something about that really just stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Yeah, definitely. That's me too. Okay, number 2. What's your favorite money or business book?
So my favorite business book, or it's more so real estate investing book. A lot of people, like I know I talked about Rich Dad Poor Dad's Robert Kiyosaki, but he has a book that I absolutely love, which is called Retire Young, Retire Rich, and it's about leveraging different real estate investments to get you to bigger investments. And so I love that because it talks about leverage. And for whatever reason, a lot of people have never heard of that book, but I actually probably think it's better than Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm
adding it to my list. I'm gonna read that before this quarantine is over.
Yeah, Kiyosaki, man, he's amazing.
That's the best author I've ever read from, bro. I love all his books.
Yeah, I mean, even his latest book, Fake, it's another good book. So everybody should read every one of his books, literally.
That dude is a great writer, man.
Yeah. So, So next question: would you rather have $1,000 a week or $1 million today?
$1,000 a week will go for the rest of your life too, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a tough one because let me think. Probably. That's a tough one. I ain't gonna lie. Probably $1 million today. Probably $1 million today.
Yeah, just
because I can invest in something that can make me $1,000 a week for the rest of my life with $1 million today.
That's the difference. I think that's the difference between, you can kind of tell how people's mindsets are based on how they answer, right? Because now with $1 million, you have complete control over. You can make $10,000 a day now. if you do it,
Right.
if you use it right.
Mm-hmm.
That 1,000 a week, you kind of limited. I mean, you can save it, but $1 million you
Right.
can get a lot quicker.
Yeah, but then the opposite end, you can see somebody that wants 1,000 a week because they just want that guaranteed income, or they take the million, but they're gonna go spend it on $1 million, I don't know, $1 million house or something. Then not have any money to pay. So that's the opposite end. Okay, so question number 4: if you can go back and change anything about your journey, what would it be?
Probably the money I lost. It would be nice to still have that.
I agree.
Put to work. So
Hey, I agree. I can't even be like, yeah.
Exactly.
I agree.
So
All right,
we
cool.
get that money back.
Yeah. So where can people find out more about you?
So I'm Rashauna Scott everywhere, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then I'm also on Instagram at Flipping and Heels. And all my information, you can click the link in the bio to for my ladies to join Infinity. Or if you just want to learn more about me, the information is there.
Cool. This was a lot of fun. So, I'm so glad we got to, get you on the show because you really are, doing it big. The reason for the people that don't know, the reason I said she's a celebrity too is because, I saw her on DJ Envy's page. I was like, hold up. I had to take a double take, but, she's out here doing it big and really, moving the culture forward, like she said, and doing a lot of good things. So we appreciate you for that. Appreciate you coming on and sharing that knowledge. So.
Yep.
Thank you so much for having me. This was such a fun interview, and I love what you guys are doing. So definitely keep putting on for what are y'all, Generation Z?
Right.
So keep putting on.
Yep, for sure.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yes, man.
Yep, appreciate you.
Yeah. Man, that was a good episode. Man. I really loved it. It was a dope episode. Another one, where someone came on here and provided y'all free value and really just told y'all how to really get stuff done. I really think a lot of people will get a lot from this, especially people that want to get into real estate investing, to hear it from another perspective in terms of like ways to get started and also like the mindset it takes to really get started with real estate investing or just business in general. Because a lot of stuff we talked about today was applicable in both aspects. Regardless if you want to do real estate, if you want to be an entrepreneur, then this is kind of the stuff that you have to wrap your mind around, this kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I felt the same way. Like I was really thinking about that as well. Like what I feel like people can take away from is like, regardless of what business you want to get into, just try to make yourself known for that whatever skill that you may have. So if you are good at cleaning shoes, even if you're good at mowing lawns, brand yourself with that title and make sure everybody knows what you do at the end of the day. Because if people, when people think of you, what are they going to think about first? And if it's not what your brand, if it's not what you want to be branded, you need to make it that. And so I think that's one thing that she has developed for her personal brand, and that's really what's allowed her to like build as many connections as she has in general. So I think a lot of listeners can definitely take something away from that and apply that to their own life.
Definitely. And I think that's super key too, that you mentioned that too. How are you occupying people's mind share as the go-to person within that field, whatever it is you're doing? Like I said, you don't have to be in business even to have a brand. But yes, that's it for this episode of the Money Monopolizers podcast. New episodes will be released every Thursday and will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Just search Money Monopolizers wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you learned something of value today. If you did, we'd appreciate it if you rated us 5 stars and left us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also find out more info about us on Twitter at The Monopolizers or on Instagram at Money Monopolizers. We post informative content on there that'll keep you engaged, so just check that out and share those posts. But until then, we out of here.
You've been listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. To learn more about how you can be in control of your money, visit moneymonopolizers.com. We'll catch you next time when Alex and Marlon share more personal finance and wealth creation tips with you. Now it's time to take action.